All right, good day. Welcome to a special episode of Life of a Dad. We're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna take you out on a typical Saturday in the concrete jungle of the thriving metropolis, where there's hidden dangers everywhere. So we wanna make sure if you're gonna use your Jeep Wrangler TJ as a daily driver, that we give you the tips and tricks that you need to make it successful. How do you feel about driving your Jeep each day? Exactly. See, she loves it. No questions, just straight to the point. So before we get out there, we want to make sure that we plan the day. You know, check the routes, see if there's any construction zones that we need to maneuver, and pick the specific rig that we're going to use, where we're going to go, what kind of stuff we're going to buy. You know, do we need a small rig? Do we need a big rig? Do we need the bigger tires? Do we need the street tires? Weather, is it going to rain? Is it high wind? Do we need the top? Do we need the hard top? All these things are factors that you need to consider when you're going to drive these things on the daily.
Precisely.
All right, so which Jeep are we going to take for the
Blue.
day?
We're taking blue.
But I don't know if that's the smartest choice, considering we're going to be driving up and down the freeways and stuff. I think we should take mine.
One of the hardest things about owning a fleet of Jeeps is trying to figure out which Jeep to drive on any given Saturday. There's some serious banter that goes back and forth between us. Not have that windblown look every time we go.
The windblown look is not a contributing factor
Yep.
in this situation.
All right.
Good afternoon. We are out in the urban wilderness, the jungle, if you will, of your average, everyday, all-American mall. And this can be quite intimidating, especially in a light urban vehicle such as a little Honda Civic or an Audi, some of those fancy brands. But let me tell you, in a Jeep, it's a walk in the park. Curbs, no problem. Tight corners, tight squeezes, no problem. The big thing that we want to do is ensure that we have adequate space to maneuver around. So for instance, this way behind you is kind of closed off. You can't get through there unless you go all the way around. Envision a car coming down the laneway and racing to this parking spot that's open, and you're on this side. Have no fear. There's things that we can do to get there before that car. Allow me to demonstrate. So what you want to do is set up your attack angle. You don't want to hit the curb straight on. You want to hit it at a little bit of an angle and just go right over top of it. It'll handle it all day long. Problem solved. Just like that, right in the parking spot, and beat the oncoming car. All right, let's talk a few things in the four-wheel drive world, because what happens out in the dirt actually plays a role here, such as angle of attack, limit of approach. Allow me to demonstrate a few options to make sure that you're not gonna harm your rig while you're navigating the concrete landscape. All right, I'll set this up and then we'll bring you in and walk you through it. All right, so attack angles. I've mentioned this a few times. This is very, very, very important, especially when you're trying to get over these curbs of varying heights. You want to make sure that you don't, damage your front suspension. So you can see I'm lined up square with the curb. Now, depending on the height of this curb, they may be easy to climb, they may be not easy to climb, but you never want to take any chances. So you can see here, even in low gear, if I give it a little bit of gas, it doesn't want to climb. I could climb it if I put it into four-wheel drive, but that kind of, changes your options a little bit. So now if I get to it at an angle, now you can see hitting it at about a 45-degree angle, I can climb it without giving any sort of gas whatsoever. And that's what you're looking for. And then it just steps right back down again. So these are the things to remember. They're important. Remember, malls can be scary, especially in trashy vehicles that aren't Jeeps. You want to make sure that you bring the right rig out for the right environment. All right, on to the next. Okay, here for the next portion of our concrete jungle, traversing the parking lots. We saw the mall scenario where, you know, it's a little more free. Cars couldn't do what we did, but this is a scenario where a Jeep might not necessarily be the answer either. You can see we've got some hidden dangers with these parking blocks that are next to the curb with that space in between. This is a real good spot for a tire to get caught, maybe over torque and break an axle, which is not something that we really want to attempt. This would be a situation where we would probably have to go out and around, unless you're in more of a, you know, trail rig with big 40-inch tires. Then, you know, have at it. All right, we're back in the concrete jungle. This is a little bit different. This is the grocery store. It presents different dangers than the mall does with the curbs and the meridians. It gives us shopping carts. These things can just be the death of any vehicle other than a Jeep. Cars, they just get the cart scratches, you know, the Audis and the Hondas and the Mercedes and these fancy vehicles. For us, we don't even worry about it. We've got fender guards, running boards, all kinds of stuff that protect us. But even if it were to hit it, does it really matter? You just present it like it's on your off-road trail. You guys get rock scratches, we get cart scratches. All right, so one of the things that we like to do when we're, you know, out on a drive, tooling around where we're in the confined space is I like to have those important conversations, you know, about life and marriage, kids, you know, those types of things. It you know, really connects us when we don't have anywhere else to go, really. We're kind of trapped. So I know we got quite a bit to discuss today. Yeah. All right, we're back into another nuance of the urban jungle. Right over there, mayhem and chaos, being the freeway / interstate. This can be quite the jungle on the daily traverse of the Jeep Wrangler TJ. Without the horsepower that these modern vehicles have, it leaves us at a little bit of a disadvantage. So it's a game of three-dimensional chess. We have to plan ahead to think which exit we're going to take, which entrance we're going to take, what's the traffic conditions, stop and go, what's the weather, wind speed, wind direction, relative humidity, all those types of things. So we like to take that extra few minutes to just pull off to the side. We got Tanya in there doing some calculations based on what we know. She's looking up current weather patterns and all that sort of stuff. And she's gonna act as my co-pilot. So her job is to tell me, you know, entrance angle, speed, and that type of stuff, and what the traffic is. So that way I know if I have to be on the brake. And also her neck's gonna be on a swivel. She's gonna be checking my surroundings as I'm paying attention to where I'm merging to make sure that nobody's trying to pass us or any of that sort of stuff. So join us on this little journey and we're gonna show you how it's done. Okay, so here's where we get to merge into traffic. This can be quite sketchy because the on-ramp is literally right ahead. Adjusting for speed, wind direction, wind speed, relative humidity, barometric pressure, and traffic conditions.
Dangerous.
It's dangerous because people tend to not look at the Wrangler. They look at us as more of an obstacle than an ally. All right, we've got our space. Okay, so here's the ramp. Overdrive off. Air conditioning off. And ready? Okay, get your wing out. Okay, speed. Stroke. 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 We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. All right. Woo. And then once you're on the interstate, you're okay. There's enough lanes people can go around. So I think some of the important topics are money. That's something that we definitely need to talk about. I don't know what you think about maybe increasing the Jeep budget each month. You know, get some more for parts. Maybe buy another Jeep as a whole. You know, but in order to do that, we'd have to seriously cut down on the craft budget. No more paper or craft items per se. I think it would be more like cutting the money to the kids if they don't need it. That way we can spend what we need to spend on Jeep stuff. What do you think? Is that like a good idea? Perfect. I think so too. I think it'll be great. All right. I hope you enjoyed the journey that we had throughout the day on a typical day in the life of a dad household. The Jeep TJ really can be a daily driver. You just gotta understand the nuances of how these things operate compared to today's high horsepower fancy cars. We just don't have that, but it's okay. We can totally drive these things around. We just gotta take that little bit of a different approach. So I hope you enjoyed the ride, and we'll see you on the next one.